They gave us more Khaslana stuff. Let's go. A guy. Come on. It's not. Oh, the gold blood, Matt. No, our boy.
This cruel flame-chased
Whoa.
journey has made me abandon my fantasies.
Oh, guy.
The future is not a paradise with a gentle west wind, waiting for us to step in.
Unfortunately, not. Hey! I still love the weapon usage of the Flame Reaver. Since it's the very first one. He's carrying Serene's weapon too. Oh, ooh, man.
If what lies ahead is a mass of chaos.
Every time they remove this man's shirt, I get it's to likely, like, the question is, did that originate from the idea of, hey, you know, it connects him to Nook, or did it originate from, how do we get his shirt off in a way that's plot relevant so we can make the fans go crazy? Because the line between that seems like, where does that line start? Because I want to know. Because funny. This man though, oh, they just keep giving him stuff and I love it. Big statue though, with the huge tears in. Also, it's almost mirroring the position he ended up in the animation we got, where, you know, he ends up missing both of his arms. His wings he cut off his own wing in one case. The other one got kind of like made to come off. He got absolutely screwed over in that fight. I'm hoping that Phainon does come back to us. Like, I imagine he's going to be born again in Amphoreus. We can hope. It's like, realistically, it's the tail end of the cycle that he did all that on, so there's no guarantee that he won't just appear again. Hopefully, if he does appear at the beginning of a cycle, then he'll be somewhat intact and not as screwed over physically as the Flame Reaver was. If we have to wait for him to be born, though, are we gonna have a period of time where we just don't see him? Like, I won't be against it. It's just, it'd be a shame, because, you know, it's that guy. I'd like him to be with us from the start. But I also get why not. Also, Serene being there kind of fills in the void. She's like, we've got someone there until he returns. And then I'm also wondering, is Dan Heng going to make his return? Because realistically, he's left Amphoreus, but he can... It's probably not impossible now for him to come back, because the Trailblaze enabled us to get through in the first place. Like, that's the reason why I believe that we got into Amphoreus at all. So, let them come back. Dan Heng is probably connected to Terravox, or is Terravox himself, because of the reference to the permanence in that story. We've got March, who is connecting to Evernight. Like, come on, let the main three have their role in pushing things forward. It'll be fine. Do I want Phainon to not be represented by Deliverance, though, when he comes back? As much as we inherited his hero's spirit, that doesn't mean that we technically inherited his position as Deliverance within Amphoreus' world. Instead, we are going to help deliver Amphoreus to a true ending, but that doesn't make us officially their deliverer, and it doesn't mean people will acknowledge us either. And I kind of hope that remains the case, because this boy... He was one hell of a deliverer over and over again, pushing so hard for... Like, we don't know how time moves comparatively to the outside of Amphoreus. But we know that there's been over 33 million cycles. And if any of them entail even just 1 year that is, well, the equivalent of 1 year on the outside, then it's been going on over 33 million years. My assumption is all of the cycles would technically last longer. but I could be wrong. But if they feel like they do last longer, regardless of how much longer, we're talking at minimum over 33 million years that these two characters have been fighting kind of against fate. More so Phainon, he has been facing it head on, while Serena's been trying to slow the progress of Iron Tomb from the outside by enabling this rebirth this loop system. Amphoreus shouldn't be looping at all. So yeah, no, it's pretty crazy, alright. Of all the characters to be a deliverer who has persevered this long, it would be Phainon. So let's go. It's nice to see this man get his dues here, and hopefully we'll see him again soon. And this is the time where I'm technically don't know who I'm rooting for here, because the Black Swordsman is just him. Just a version of him that has been prolonging his own agony. And we don't even know if it's just the first one, or if it's... Because we know that any follow-up, like Khaslana, including the one we're currently using, is inheriting the memories on purpose. They choose to accept it by killing him and continue on as well. So this is basically a culmination of what makes Khaslana who he is at this point. That willingness to keep fighting to try and carry everyone's wishes, even if he loses his humanity in the process. Over and over and over again. Killing the bearers of the Call Flames, inheriting them to try and prevent the progress of Iron Tomb. Is he contributing towards Iron Tomb's birth, though? In a way. But there's no way to do that without being in the sim. So, can we really hold him to account for that in the same way? The situation all these characters exist under is actually awful. They are all trapped here, and are made to contribute towards something that they will never escape. They are pre-programmed to feel absolute misery. And with the way that the simulation works, they are, at minimum, expected to die twice. Because the Titans in this current position, they only exist to be slaughtered. Which is really terrible, and actually kind of makes sense of why the Evernight Part 1, Orynyx is crying out for her quote-unquote mother, almost for comfort and desperately, and even wanted to leave. And March is the voice we heard. It was definitely her VA. So that would imply that March, since the beginning, like since before she lost her memories, had a vested interest in this world. The position that also is mentioned to, potentially save the Garden of Recollection, which is kind of crazy. But the idea is that, the Garden already saw the heartbreak in this world. And one of them was even willing to comfort this Titan that, yes, represents time, which is... We know now that all of the different flame chase, authorities tie to one of the paths in-game. We know that now, because they even established that trickery is meant to be a simulated version of elation. So time is, of course, remembrance. So it makes perfect sense that actual remembrance would acknowledge that path. Acknowledge the people on it who are suitable for actually carrying that, following that path of remembrance and reality and picking them out. Especially when, they can be mimetic entities that don't physically have bodies anymore. What's the difference between a mimetic entity in general and what these people are? I don't think there is much of one, aside from that they can persevere beyond the simulation. Which is why Serene could probably leave into the path space. And because she's not been found, they can't fix the looping. And now March could potentially enter and take on that position and support this world. Potentially again, because it sounds like she already was. Or at least she was doing something while here. Like, at the very least, we've got a memo keeper in March that actually understood the value of trying to save this world and understood the fate of the garden if nothing was done. At max, we've potentially got an Aeon. All I know is I love it, and every member of this cast has already kind of proven that the thing that drives them is their memories. So let's just go in order, just because it just makes sense to me to cover what these paths might actually be when it comes to the paths that they're mirroring. Time is remembrance. Law is the equilibrium. Earth is the permanence. World bearing is destruction in this case. Reason is the erudition. Romance is the beauty. Strife is hunt. Trickery is elation. So we have a few paths left that we don't know what they potentially are. And in the case of some of them, I am just assuming based on lore connective information that we get through the As I've Written section. So passage, I'm going to assume it could be preservation. Ocean, I don't actually know. I kind of want to say very loosely that it's abundance. Sky, I think, is harmony. Death, I'm gonna say is finality. There's no guarantee that they will be those paths, but that's like my assumption on what they could be. The fact is, we know that they are based clearly on actual paths in the universe, because it's confirmed as much. Every single one of them ties to destruction in their own way, like every single Chrysoset has golden blood. But the paths that exist within the Flame Chase journey are based on the actual paths that are followable in the universe. We have proof of this, because it is mentioned specifically in the As I've Written new section, the EXE file we get. They mention a section on trickery and connect it to elation. They did that, not us. That's not like some fan theory. That's something they officially have now done, which is very fun. The one thing I find interesting is if romance here is meant to symbolize beauty, I'm interested in why that path was selected. Like, there's no guarantee, though, that, of course, Amphoreus didn't start back when some of these dead Aeon, like, the beauty is meant to be gone. And if they are dead, then it wouldn't surprise me if Amphoreus started before the beauty actually had even died. So it's not impossible that obviously that they'd base a path on something that still existed at that stage, even if they don't exist now. Only one way to know, though, is wait for the story to give more information. I do love this, though. It makes me very happy.